everybody. This is Keith Gleason, host of Indie Comics Relay, creator of the Mighty Mascots, and promoter for the Plastic City Comic Con. And I'm here with another comic review. Before I get into that, just a reminder that Plastic City Comic Con is coming up July 20th. We have Jimmy Hart, wrestling legend, Jim Salicrup, and a bunch of other comic creators coming to the show. Best convention you can get for a low admission price, $10. One day, Saturday, July 20th. Also, if you check out HeroEnvy.com, you can find all my comics, including Mighty Mascots, Hero Envy, Swamp Tales, Kids Switch. And you can also hire me as a comic letterer. So check all that out. All right. Now on to our review. Today I'm reviewing Space Ghost #1. This is a comic by Dynamite Comics. It is written by David Pepose, is I think how you say it. Artist is Jonathan Lau. Letterer is Taylor Esposito. So I'm guessing Jonathan did the colors as well on this and the inks. All right. So let me do a quick summary of the story. I mean, you guys already may be familiar with the Space Ghost character and its many iterations. I'm so happy to see this character back in comic form. But let me just give you a quick, let me read this off of the description for the first issue from Dynamite's website. Greed and corruption flourish in the darkness between stars, with the territories of the Galactic Federation spread far and wide across the vastness of space. Pirates and hijackers ransack the distant colonies with cruel disregard for the innocent scientists living within them. There is a cosmic vigilante who metes out justice throughout the galaxy, bringing vengeance to those who prey upon the defenseless. Some say he's a policeman who has abandoned the structures of the law. Others say he is a phantom, the sole survivor of a war-torn planet, and those who have survived his wrath claim he is more a force of nature, able to bend the very elements of creation to decimate his enemies. They call him Space Ghost, and his adventures begin here. Great description. And as you can see from that description, it's a very serious take on Space Ghost, which I like. There's always been the Space Ghost Coast to Coast on Cartoon Network, which is fun. But I have always preferred the more serious take on Space Ghost, including in, the original cartoon from Hanna-Barbera's World of Super Adventure. And then also in his many appearances in comics, I can remember there's the Kamiko one. There's also Future Quest that DC did. And I remember there was a Green Lantern Space Ghost crossover as well, one shot. But I've always liked, I think Alex Toth designed this character, one of the best costume designs as well. I could talk about this forever. I love this cartoon growing up. I even have a Space Ghost tumbler right over here next to my desk. I always enjoyed it. So short summary of the story. I don't want to spoil it because I want everybody to go and pick this up because I think it's totally worth it. I think writer David Pepose hit it out of the park, basically. I think this is a great first issue, and I love his take on Space Ghost. And I love that he's taking elements of Space Ghost that we know from the cartoons, but kind of going through like the Energon universe kind of treatment of it. I don't know if you guys are following the whole Robert Kirkman Energon universe, but they're taking classic, Transformers, G.I. Joe, Hasbro properties, but reinventing them in a fun way, but staying true to the elements that made them great. And that's what's going on in the Space Ghost comic. He's taken everything that we know about Space Ghost, but he's adding a depth to it, which I think is great. And the first issue comes off like the first 10 minutes of an action movie where you kind of get just Space Ghost being awesome, but also it's laying the foundation for the universe. And like I said, I don't want to get into too much without, spoiling it, but it's also an introduction of Jan and Jace, his teen sidekicks. And you get to see what their life was like a little bit before Space Ghost comes into it, which is very cool, I also like that David is treating him sort of like Batman in space. there's like panels where he's like, in shadow, and basically treating him like an actual ghost, which is, I thought, was really cool. But like a lot of the poses reminded me of Batman, like when you see Batman in total darkness and you just see his eyes or something like that. That's what this reminded me of so much. So I appreciated that as a fan. And I think the greatest thing about the Space Ghost cartoon is you always wanted to know more about him, like where he came from, how he became Space Ghost, and how he became part of this like crazy galaxy, and fighting all these monsters. And Space Ghost had some of the coolest villains, which you get to see one of them, or a couple of them actually, in the first issue, which is great. And I look forward to seeing some of the other classics like Zorak and things like that, and how David's take on that will be, So we'll see how this goes. I really excited about the first issue. Let me see. So that the artwork is great. I don't think I've ever read anything by or seen anything by Jonathan Lau. I don't know if it says in his credits that he did Vampirella Strikes, which I think is part of the whole Dynamite thing as well. But I wasn't familiar with his artwork, but I really liked it. I thought it complemented the book well, and I hope he stays on for the entire run. The lettering looked good by Taylor. Coloring was great. Yeah, it was just a great first issue. And the thing I hate about Dynamite so much is the amount of covers that they put out, but it's all part of the game now. But there's some really cool ones with the Space Ghost one. There was one that was done sort of in the Hanna-Barbera style that I'll throw up so you guys can see it. That one was my favorite, and that was the one I ordered. But there's some cool ones by like Jay Lee and some nice painted ones as well. So as much as I hate the variant cover thing, and I don't plan on buying more than one cover because I've just never been about that, but I do think there's a lot of cool ones you could choose from the series, and looking forward, there's more coming that look really cool too. The story left me wanting more, so that's great. I love that. Would I recommend this? Absolutely recommend it. The price is $4.99, which seems to be a standard now with most comics. It's a 32 page count, but you gotta throw out 10 of those pages to ads and things like that. It is a great first issue, and of course you're going to pay more for some of the variant covers. Some are $10, some are 15, and then also there's the incentives, the 1 in 25s and things like that that'll cost you $25-50 beyond. But I really liked it. And one thing I wanted to say too, David Pepos is a cool writer. I first became aware of him he had a series called Spencer and Locke back. This is going, I don't know how many years ago this was, but it reminds me a lot of my book, Mighty Mascots, in the sense that what Spencer and Locke was if you would reimagine Calvin and Hobbes as detectives. Like Calvin was this detective, but he still had Hobbes as an imaginary friend that helped him on cases and things like that. And they went against other reinvented like comic strip characters. Like I remember, I think one of the mini series, they went after a crazy Beetle Bailey, and I love that stuff. And and the reason I say it reminds me of Mighty Mascots is because it's sort of the same thing where I'm taking brand mascots like cereal mascots and doing my twisted versions of them, and except that David did it with comic strips, which I thought was really fun. And I kind of wish he'd go back and do some more of those, but I know he's doing stuff for Marvel and now Dynamite. He also did a Moon Knight series for Marvel called City of the Dead. That was really good. I recommend that. And his Punisher run was decent. It's too bad it got cut down so early after 4 issues. I liked it. It wasn't bad, so, and I hopefully, maybe I can get them for Plastic City one of these years. I'd love to have, good writers at the show and that put out, great stuff and that still have like a root in indie comics, so we'll see. I'll definitely reach out at some point and see if we can get them at the show. But yeah, no, I'm just checking my notes here, see if I have anything else I want to say. I mean, the design by Alex Toth is amazing for Space Ghost. I recommend to, if you can find it, on HBO Max, they probably still have Batman Brave and the Bold cartoon. I think in the third season, they did one of the intro segments with Batman and Space Ghost teaming up. And if you could find that episode, it's a great 5-minute segment with Space Ghost and Batman. Highly recommend. And it has all the elements you'll love of Space Ghost in it. But yeah, no, I give this one a thumbs up, and I think it's definitely worth your time, especially if you're an old Toon head like me and you love the original property. But I also think you would like this even if you were just discovering Space Ghost for the first time. It's cool enough. It's a different concept. I mean, how often do you see a superhero in outer space? I mean, Marvel and DC have some of that with Green Lantern and like the Guardians and things like that, but and Space Ghost is kind of just a unique looking character and a unique, background that you don't know anything about. So I always find like that works for a character when you want to know more about them. The way they used to do that with Wolverine before they actually decided to make his origin. But yeah, totally recommend. I loved it, so I can't wait for more. This one's definitely going on the pull list. And I'm excited that Dynamite's bringing back all these retro properties. I know they have Johnny Quest coming up by Joe Casey, and I'm really looking forward to that one. There's a free comic book day if you guys are out this week of Johnny Quest from Dynamite. So check that out if you can. And I think it has previews as a Space Ghost comic in it as well. So, but all right, everybody. Thank you for checking out Indie Comics Relay. Like, subscribe, share this video if you think someone would like it. And yeah, join us every other Monday for our live streams. And yeah, we have a great time, and we just love talking to creators and love the whole process of indie comics. So check it out. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your week, and most importantly, read some comics. All right, everybody, talk to you later. Bye.